Hi everyone, welcome to Dive In, a live and interactive conversation about anything and everything ocean for ocean and conservation enthusiasts of all ages. I'm Liz Taylor, ocean explorer, naturalist, and entrepreneur. And you?
I'm Sylvia Earle. I'm founder of Mission Blue and explorer in residence, National Geographic.
First of
So,
all, a bit of housekeeping. We have a lot of attendees from all over the world who may want to participate today. And later on in the program, we're going to be taking some questions via text, which you can write in the Q&A box, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. And you can also use the raise your hand feature, and our co-producer will call on you for some live questions if you like. So thanks for that. And note that throughout the conversation, we'll be adding some links in the attendees box and the chat box for further information. But today, we're going to be talking about water. Fresh, salt, how it ties all life on Earth together, no matter where you live. You know, a person can live for a couple of weeks, really, without eating food, but it's just a matter of days, hours in some cases, that we can survive without water.
must have water. The single non-negotiable thing life requires
Exactly.
is water.
And, we always like to talk about some summer reading. And for the kids out there who read Lemony Snicket's, they summed it up quite well in The Grim Grotto, where he says, after a great deal of time examining oceans, investigating rainstorms, and staring very hard at several drinking fountains, the scientists of the world developed a theory regarding how the water is distributed around the planet, which they named the water cycle.
Water
The
cycle.
water cycle.
It goes up and goes down, round and round.
The water cycle consists of three key phenomena: evaporation, precipitation, and collection, all of them equally boring.
All
But,
equally important.
but exactly. But what's not boring is that water everywhere is just full of life, and we're utterly dependent upon it.
Not only is water full of life, life is full of water.
Exactly.
No water, no life. What is it we say? No blue, no green,
That's right.
no us, whether you're green or not.
So we're starting off our presentation today with our favorite image of Earthrise. It reminds us that we're really at a time of realization, inspiration, and the change that can come from it. And it reminds us to remember that the change can be global if we all work together as a
Right.
culture.
And to acknowledge the world, after all, is
Is
blue.
blue.
Never forget it.
Today we're going to be joined by our friends Wyland and Steve Creech. Um, they are here with us already, so they don't even have to turn on their cameras. They're right here with us. And, Wyland, hey guys. um,
Where are you, Steve?
Steve's in California.
Yep.
Ah, and Wyland, you're on the other side of the country, right?
I'm right there, the Florida Keys, Sylvia, and you've stayed here, so you know all about this place, and you've dove here for many years.
Well, when we start these little ventures, we usually dive in, and today we're diving in with a photograph you took when we were together at Midway. We'll dive in with a fish. Good place
You
to
know
start.
what's funny? That is the first time that you and I really dove together. And I
Yeah.
remember they said, hey, this time of year, Sylvia, Wyland, you probably won't be able to dive it because it's pretty big. It's like Hawaii in the winter. And we got a call in the morning and they said, hey, it's flat as a lake. Are you guys up for diving? We're like, yes, yes.
Are you
And I
kidding?
remember we slipped in and I was very excited to dive with you, Sylvia, and you being my hero forever. And anyway, we saw everything in the ocean. Trevallies, they were like tornadoes of fish and schools. Sharks. That turtle came over to you and like pecked you on the mast. Giant manta ray, everything. We went in a cave. We swam in there with a couple of white-tipped sharks. And when we got back up, Liz, I told your mom, I told Sylvia, I says, was that as good as I thought it was? And Sylvia said, yep, that was one of my best. I said, mine too.
Right.
but the amazing thing is, Wyland, you grew up in Detroit, not close to the ocean at all, but close to the Great Lakes and the Detroit River.
Yeah, surrounded by water. I'm a water sign. Water has been the conduit to everything in my life. And, I actually went out to Southern California to visit my mom's sister, my aunt. And I asked if I could go see the ocean because I dreamt about it my whole life, watching Jacques Cousteau, my other hero, and Lloyd Bridges, of course, Sea Hunt. And anyway, so we went out to Laguna Beach, and that's where I now live. But I was 14 years old, and I saw that beautiful Pacific Ocean. So I ripped the clothes off, went under a wave, and two gray whales actually spouted right in front of me. And I'll never forget that image. It stays in your mind's eye. And these rolling backs with these beautiful barnacles, this mottled skin, and then it fluked up the whale tail. And man, it was like looking at dinosaurs, Sylvia. And Sylvia and I always say, if you see a whale, it changes your DNA. Everybody should be able to see some of the things we've seen. But that's why I decided 10 years later that maybe I should paint these whales life size, in their true size, on the side of a public building. And that was the first of what would be 101, ocean murals, whaling walls.
And here you are holding a chunk of water.
Look at that, huh?
Other adventures when we were in the Arctic together.
Yeah, and it was your birthday, and I went diving with you on your birthday.
That's right.
That's right.
A memorable time.
You were like 29, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Only count the decades.
Here you are.
Yeah, this is American Samoa. They asked me to do a mural there, one of my 100. And I was proud to do that. Plus, we also sailed from there with Nainoa and the Hokulea. I got to sail, and Greg Stone was on board. We sailed over to Samoa in some pretty big seas. We almost didn't make it, but you were there at the UN Small Island Nation Conference with the UN General Secretary waiting to kind of greet us.
That's right. We had a great celebration.
And this is a wonderful one here.
Yeah.
Biosphere.
Yeah,
it's in Arizona.
In Arizona.
They need the ocean in Arizona.
They do need the ocean there, just like we do.
Oh, yeah. Oracle, Arizona. And what was funny there is I'm painting, and all of a sudden I turn around, and there's Lloyd Bridges and Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges, and they go, "Can we paint?" And you know me, Sylvia, I'll take anybody. I'll take all the help I can get. So about halfway in, though, somebody's painting on my pants. It's Lloyd Bridges. He painted "Sea Hunt Lives" on my pants.
That's like little kids are,
And this is that's so great.
Well, acting, being a scientist, artist, that's not a real job. Come on, man. This is in Australia. This is in Bundaberg. They have rum, and they have humpback whales life size on this building that I painted a long time ago.
Yep. It's really great to go not just around the country, but around the world. And
it is.
See your brushstrokes.
Yep.
Well, nobody's traveled more than you have. And we've been very lucky, Sylvia. And, especially with this quarantine and, the corona, I feel so bad. But it's gonna turn, and then we're going to get back to it again. We'll get back to it again. This one is part of a larger mural than that one I did in Long Beach in Destin, Florida. And I wanted to paint a life-size blue whale. And my thing was, if a kid could stand up next to a whale, they would really get a sense of it and maybe become more aware and more sensitive, and maybe start asking questions to you about these beautiful blue whales that live in the Gulf. And actually they're seeing them right off Southern California right now. Dana Wharf just sent me 2 pictures of these beautiful 2 blue whales.
Well, and for grown-ups too.
Yeah.
You find the kid in grown-ups.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, I've never had a real job. I'm 64 now. I just turned 64, and I've been painting since I was 4 years old. And I used to paint dinosaurs and Jurassic scenes. And then, watching Jacques Cousteau, that just changed my life. I just knew that I wanted to be a diver, which eventually, I started diving. And you and I believe, are both in the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame together. Yep. Here, give me the elbow on that one. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Sylvia. Boom, Liz. Oh, this wall, you guys, was in the Guinness Book of World Records. I painted it in 1991, I believe. It's in the Guinness Book as the largest mural or painting in history of the world. and it felt like it too. It
So
took me
far.
6
So
weeks to see the other end. So far, you're fine.
So far, yeah.
You're only 64.
Yeah.
You know, there's a funny story about this too. We were
Yeah.
driving one day back from CBS. Remember this, Wyland? And you said, you know, I would really love to paint the Earth on top of that mural. I said, Wyland, here we go again. It's too big. It's too much. I just don't know if we have the time to do it. And then we worked on it behind the scenes, and then we put it all together. And then next thing you know, we're kind of rocking on it. And Wyland was retouching the mural, and then he made an announcement that he was going to paint the Earth in 24 hours. And I remember all of us on his team nearly fell over. We're like, okay, Wyland, you're on your own on this one.
Yeah, and we got the paint company to donate about 4,000 gallons. And
Wow.
I realized when I started painting it that I didn't know if I was going to be able to complete the largest portrait of the Earth on Earth in 24 hours. But what happened was when I came out the next day, I got a couple hours sleep. It had rained all night, and the paint kind of melted over the wall, and it has a little curvature, and it actually created the Gulf of Mexico. So I started throwing like buckets, 5-gallon buckets, and I threw, I don't know how many gallons, but we finished it right before sunset on Earth Day.
That
Incredible.
is really amazing. It's
No big thing.
You know, it's that thing you have. You know, I think all 4-year-olds are inherent artists and draw images. Somewhere along the way, it's like I think all kids start out as scientists, asking questions. But fortunately, you've got that special twist of mind. It's unique. I mean, there are other artists, but how you hold in your mind what it is that is ultimately going to emerge as a full-sized whale or a giant turtle or whatever.
Yeah, how does that happen?
I don't know.
Well, thanks, Sylvia and Liz. This one is actually at Pearl Harbor, and it's on the ceiling. So when you walk in, you're looking straight up at the light, and then under the sea, these whales are swimming around you, mothers, cows, calves. There's a coral reef there. This was quite challenging. And I'll tell you, my neck did get a little sore reaching up, painting that one.
Well, this one is, I think, is so inspiring to people because it does give you that sense of being under the water or in the water. Yeah. And this is how these rays look when you're a diver and you look up and you see them kind of silhouetted in that way, and the whales as well.
Well, diving has given Sylvia and I and others a perspective that, you know, we're able to share with the world. And, you know, when I'm diving, Sylvia, I'm actually painting pictures in my mind's eye that will reflect in the murals and in the smaller traditional paintings I do, and the sculptures, in everything. So I feel blessed that I'm able to dive the world oceans, and there's still a lot of beauty left. There's still a lot to protect, and that's why we're working together today so hard to ensure that we have clean water and healthy oceans.
Yeah.
You remember when we were, of course you do, when we did you invited me to come to the White House when you were doing a mural with the kids.
You bet.
When
you're a pretty good artist, man. Not bad.
And Laura, with I don't know how many kids there were, 50 or 60 anyway, part of the Easter egg event, but at the same time they got their hands into the paint.
You know, Sylvia, I just think that's probably one of the most important things that I've been able to do with the Wyland Foundation is I've painted with over 1 million kids like that. That was at the White House. You and I painted with those kids.
Right.
And, you know, if you want to know what a kid's thinking, look at their art.
Yeah.
And we were all celebrating the ocean. I remember what happened, Liz. Your mom said, well, let's have a little conversation with George W. Bush in the White House. So Sylvia sat next to him, and you couldn't get them apart. And I think Sylvia said something like, well, yeah, it's great, we're protecting this area, but, you know, he said something, or you said something about, well, they can still fish there. And I think you put a little pressure on to say, yeah, there shouldn't be any taking. And you made it happen.
Well, I think Laura Bush had something to do with influencing her spouse to use his superpower. We all have power,
Yeah,
Yours,
for
yours
sure.
is so evident with your ability to communicate through art. Others have the ability to shape policy, but all of us can do something.
Well, so
Well, you have a bit of influence yourself, your deepness, and I saw it firsthand, you guys. And then right after that area was protected, I realized that you hadn't had a chance to go to Midway, and that was one of the best times. Your mom's the first one up in the morning and the last one to go to sleep after she hits the dance floor with all the volunteers, and
oh yeah, so
that
but
that was so
here
much
you are
fun.
with you're here with Wisdom, the albatross, and you
Yeah,
are
right. That was special, and we painted Wisdom, and I think I did a monk seal, and your mom did some algae. I'm going, what the heck is that? Oh yeah, there's your mom and Wisdom
yeah,
right there at
and there's
Midway.
the mural there. You've got
I
like
did the egg.
yeah, you painted the egg, and then I think you did get some
You did,
algae in there somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you got some algae, and yeah, that was the only wall they had, but it turned out pretty cool. I was pretty happy with it.
yeah.
So are the birds. They're all sitting around admiring it. There you are,
Working
up
on
there, the monk seal.
the snout of the monk seal.
It's a big
Yeah,
skill.
yeah, the monk seal I think is the most beautiful of all the pinnipeds. I mean, it's just a beautiful looking, animal, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. And they just had some leftover paint, Steve. That I asked if we could paint one of the walls, and they let us go. And yeah, you painted I think the nest and the egg, and it was a real beautiful collaboration of art and science. The two of us working together, trying to create some of that beauty and share it through this little mural.
We want to talk about water, but first I just have to be able to share with those who don't know. There might be a few people who don't know the breadth as well as the depth of what you do. And Steve, I don't know how long you've been palling around with
Almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
I know it's been a long time, but you've seen as time goes by, Wyland not only does these amazing walls, for which he's probably most well known, but you started out doing sculptures, didn't you?
And
Wyland?
still is.
Yeah.
And you still are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I majored in sculpture, and in fact, I just was in Africa on a safari last year in Kenya, and I just created these new, really detailed sculptures of elephants, rhino. I know it was International Rhino Day, but I used to paint all those animals, and then I really got so into the ocean. But now I've come full circle back to the freshwater and endangered species. But Sylvia, I'll let you know my next project now that the 101 Whaling Wall project is complete, with the last one in Seattle on the Edgewater Hotel with Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. That was fun. I'm doing 100 monumental sculptures in 100 great cities in the world, larger than life sculptures of all the great whale species and other endangered or threatened species from the UN Red List. And 10 of those will be underwater, so you'll have to dive or snorkel to see the art.
I know you do octopuses from time to time. Well, I'm going to get you really tuned in and turned on about some of the other invertebrates. They're so beautiful.
Maybe a mantis shrimp.
Oh yeah, but turtles and
Turtles, the wonderful animals.
You do so many variations on the theme of expressing the world through underwater world and above nature through art. But I love the simplicity of some of your brush work, where you just take a few lines and you've got this amazing rendition, including the
Well,
person.
I felt strongly from the beginning that art could play such an important role. Music, that it's the way that people communicated from the very beginning of time, and we've come full circle there now too. So I think the artists have to use their voice. I'm trying to encourage millions of artists around the world to use their art and conservation like I do to get that message out there further. The message that Mission Blue is doing such a beautiful job of, those hope spots. Steve will tell you that inspired me so much that I said, and I had a meeting with Liz, Taj Mahal, the great blues man, your buddy and mine. We talked to Liz and we said, we need some freshwater, hope spots. So we created Streams of Hope. And
Right.
and it was totally inspired by you, Sylvia, and the work that Mission Blue's been doing. the hope spots around the world for the oceans. And the idea was to have streams of hope all along, our nation. Actually, we want to take it global, because if we don't protect our freshwater habitats, we can't protect the ocean. So everything flows to the sea. And we just felt the only person we wanted to do this was with you, Sylvia, and with Mission Blue and Liz, because you guys really set the table now on how critical it is to have protected areas. And I thought Steve and I noodled it around, and we said we need to do that for our freshwater, our lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, and wetlands. So we've been working really hard on these streams of hope. And by the way, Sylvia, we're going to have like citizen scientists, just every person will pick a stream of hope. And we wanted to honor you to pick the very first one as we launch this in the U.S. and around the world. And then people can come up with creative ways to take care of their backyard, their stream and their river and lake.
You've been doing this for a while, and I love the fact that you went around the country engaging the mayors as well as the kids.
Right.
And,
I would add something here too, Sylvia and Liz. This notion goes back many, many years, and it like Wyland said, it was really started by you, Sylvia. And I remember vividly Wyland approaching me. This had to be 15 years ago, at least. And he was talking about all the great work that you were doing about connecting people with the ocean, and also the point you were making then about how important it was to take care of these ecosystems upstream. And Wyland said, so we're going to go on 5 years of tours for clean water, and we're going to learn all about it. We're going to go across the country, up and down the Mississippi, the West Coast, the East Coast. And I said, you're crazy, man. There's no way. How are we going to do this? But it really changed the trajectory of everything we did, the trajectory of everything that Wyland did, and it became our marching orders and our mantra, and from that crazy idea, it just blossomed into something that's taken over the nation. So thank you for that. And thank you, Wyland, for having the big dream to push forward at a time when people were saying, why should we care? Because they weren't interested. They thought water is something that just comes out of your tap and it's all taken care of and it's nothing to worry about. And there was no connection between what's happening upstream and what's happening downstream. And now they finally are, but it's 15 years later, right, Wyland?
Well, and Steve, the main thing, and Sylvia, you and Liz mentioned it, for the last 10 years or so, we've been working with the mayors in communities to inspire people to be water wise, to take care of our water. And we came up with a really creative way for the mayors to engage their citizens and make water pledges at mywaterpledge.com. Has been very powerful. So far, I think over 12 billion gallons of water pledges, saving water, saving energy, saving money, and saving the planet. So Sylvia, you were the one that really ignited in me an environmental renaissance and spirit that continues today with our small but mighty Wyland Foundation.
Well, it's a moment in time when we know now what could not be known before. Over here, the edge. Here we are.
Just there we go.
There you are. All right. Yeah. Well, absolutely, Sylvia. Just to me, you're just so inspirational to millions of people around the world, and I really wanted to extend what you inspired in me and the Wyland Foundation, and take care of our fresh water with all the people throughout the U.S. and around the world, so that our oceans have a better chance of being clean and healthy. And there's so many issues today, but I think the idea of empowering people to care and to take action today and make a difference, we're going to keep bringing it. You really created a monster here in your friend Wyland. I mean, and Liz and I had such a good talk with Taj Mahal. We can't wait to see you again. and continue to work together, as I say, for the big picture, the big blue picture.
Yeah, and it's so important just to have this idea of connectivity between freshwater, the lakes, the ponds, the rivers, and how they, as you were saying, they all flow downstream to the hope spots.
And there's the water cycle.
And the water
Goes
cycle
back up into the sky.
It's not boring.
It's not boring
at all.
Never. Water's got magic, never boring. And Sylvia told me something. Everything you told me, Sylvia, I've kept in my heart and my mind. But you said one time, we have plenty of water. We have plenty of water, but we're not taking care of it.
No, that's really the. I mean, it's
abusing it.
It's such a shame. I mean, I remember being a kid and kind of tooling around, and every little creek and pond and everything was just teeming with life. And then steadily, and this is particularly around Florida and the neighborhoods there was always little streams and rivulets that would connect to the seasonal ponds and then onto a bigger lake, and they all had a whole host of little fish and tadpoles and frogs and all kinds of plants and animals.
We got to get that back. We got to get that back.
And what has happened, but so many of them have just been, they'll come along, they'll put a pipe, they'll put a culvert in there to, shunt all the fresh water into the ocean as quickly as possible. And there's no chance for the water cycle to work, for
to breathe,
for the natural filtration to, recharge the groundwater, to ensure that we have fresh drinking water, that non-negotiable piece. And
now we know so much that we just did not understand before.
And it's really awful to kind of be walking around through a neighborhood and you hear the sound of rushing water, but it's not there. It's where did it go? And it's paved over.
Yeah.
And I love this effort that we're seeing in some cities now, and being led by some of these mayors to daylight forgotten waterways, to dig them back up and restore them, and restore the health of all this fresh water.
Well, there's a true renaissance, and it was started by the work that you guys are doing, the work that we're now doing, and the work that we're going to do, going forward. But everybody watching this, let's bring our organizations together, because one group can't do everything. No. One individual can't do everything. In today's world, we have to all work together, our communities. But I think this is the cause of our day. And water is really at the forefront of it. If we don't have clean water and healthy oceans, we don't have, quality of life for these whales and animals that I paint, but for us, for all humans.
That's for sure.
It all ties back to, human health, planetary health, and that, the water is the thing that brings us all together.
It's the link. It's the
liquid
link.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we're focused on the right thing, Steve. I think Sylvia and Liz we're really focused on the right thing at the right moment. And, I'm very optimistic, having Steve worked with millions of kids, on these programs and finding creative ways to engage them through art, through science. But I'm really encouraged with some of these kids like Ryan, the recycling kid, Recycle Ryan, all these wonderful kids, these youth ambassadors, those seeds that Sylvia planted in the hearts and minds of our youth and that the Wyland Foundation is dedicated to will grow coral, will grow fruit. And, I believe we're on the right path, but we just need more people. We need actually all 7.5 billion people to be on board with what Sylvia is doing and Mission Blue and the Wyland Foundation and all these conservation efforts going around the world.
Well, from the foundation point of view, we want to get people informed so they can take action, but we don't think that's going to happen unless people are inspired first. And one of the things that really connected me with Wyland's work before I even started working with him was his ability to connect with people on a more emotional level about why this is so important. Because when you think about it, as young people and as kids, our first exposures to the world it's visual, it's through our senses, it's emotional, and that sets that trajectory where we seek out more information and we empower ourselves through learning and school and getting out and being curious people. And if you are inspired and you are informed, you are in a position to take action. And Wyland will say this, that it doesn't matter. You don't need to be an environmentalist.
No,
you can be anybody. You can be an accountant. You can be a mechanic. You can be a good parent. These are the people that are going to change our planet for the better. But that's where our whole basis as a foundation and everything we do is about creating a community that is mutually supportive and inspired and informed. And that's what makes the difference. Because Wyland will tell you, right? I mean, we would go on these tours and we didn't know all the answers. We got in there and we were surprised so many times, right?
Well,
Right.
you know what? We continue to learn. You know, Sylvia shares her knowledge, and as we travel around, you know, to places like Sylvia, we actually barged down the Mississippi from Lake Itasca. I couldn't believe it's just a little stream, all the way down every state, learning from all the people that are really working on that ecosystem to ensure they don't have dead zones out in the Gulf. But we basically go in there really open-minded, and we share what we know, and we kind of evolved the story of learning and sharing and taking action. And it's been an exciting journey, but I'm really excited about, you know, what's coming forward. You have so many protected areas, and now we want to protect those freshwater areas.
So it's something that I think, you know, everybody upstream can help with the hope spots, and it's these personal things that happen, you know, yard by yard.
Where does the trash come from?
Where does the trash go?
Upstream.
You know,
Yeah.
75% of all the pollution comes from land. All the marine pollution, 75% of it originates upstream.
Upstream. And so just by restoring these creeks and rivers and lakesides, all that filtration, it's all opportunities to kind of capture that plastic and or other trash and debris or nutrients, whatever it happens to be, before it really reaches the ocean and can create a dead zone or can create a problem for a whale or a sea turtle. So it's all about, you know, building these small steps as the water is coming back to the ocean.
We used to think that a marsh was like a wasted area. Fill it in.
Drain the marsh.
Drain the marsh.
Don't do
Right,
it.
right. You
Drain
mean
the
Florida?
I mean,
But-
Florida for one is just
Oh.
it's a living river.
Tragedy.
But it's such a tragic spot. You know.
I know Lake Itasca. I mean, there's so many good people working on it, though. You know, there's so many issues with that lake and everything. But I'll tell you, the more voices we bring into this, like we're doing right here, the stronger we're going to be when we put pressure on different issues like Lake Itasca and what it's doing to our coast and down in the Everglades and you know, to the fishing here, right here in my backyard.
So what do you tell like all your followers and you know your fans? You know, what do you tell them that they can do?
Well, what I would tell you is this can be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
To see communities transforming how they view, you know, these different watersheds.
Right.
It's like Sylvia says, what we do in the next 10 years will impact the next 10,000. And it's exactly what that is. People are pumped up, and they're gonna join together, you know, and the mayors are taking the lead. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff happening, but not fast enough. So that's why we're doing this right now. We really want to get that out there that, hey, we need to protect every drop of water is important and recycles around the world. And, you know, we got some work to do, but it's fun work. And that's what's sustainable. When it's fun, when you transform a little community or a park and you take care of your water and you see it, I mean, it's powerful. It's empowering. And I like to see the young people really take the lead, to be honest, Sylvia, because I think I said it a million times that if we want to protect the environment today, talk to us like we're doing now. But if you want to protect it for the future,
Talk to
Yeah.
the kids.
We just added a new component to our Mayor's Challenge, and it's called My Volunteer Water Project. And it's never really been done this way before, but it's a way for people to get active from home, even if they're home sheltering, or to neighborhood beautification, community projects. But they're the kind of things that you can do that's very simple. And you can make small changes, even looking at the native vegetation around your home, and swapping some of that out can really reduce your requirements for fertilizers and pesticides. But there's so many different ways to get involved, and we have it all on this new application. But you can do small things, and we're not asking for a lot. And we've never been about that, right, Wyland? It's never been about people over the head. It's about how can we get this done in a simple, effective way?
Right.
And it's not going to inconvenience people uh, too much, I guess, or if at all, right?
It's the opposite. I think it's very empowering, and when they see the difference they're making, you know, they're world changers, these kids, you know, and we want to put a lot of light on them. And you know, there's nothing they really can't do when they set their mind to it. So they just need to know that we're behind them, we're supporting them. And the thing about art, Sylvia and Liz and Steve, is that art is disappearing from our schools. And to me, that's unacceptable. We need more art, because art inspires creative thinking. Even if you're a scientist, you know, Sylvia, you had art. Our generation always had art. You know, and some of us went on to be artists, some went on to be other things.
It's a piece of everyone.
Yeah.
It's a part of everyone.
It's inside all of us. I don't know one successful person that didn't have art in their background. And now they just think it's some secondary thing, you know, STEM to STEAM. We got to keep art front center. I'm writing a book called Saving Art Education in America. We've got to protect art education, you know, because it's something that will drive the creative process in these big problems that we have facing pollution, you know, whether it's plastic. Art will be the one component that will inspire creativity on how to solve some of these problems.
We ought to invite any of the kids who might be watching to send in their images that we can share.
Yeah.
Their ideas.
Love it. Let's go. Let's see your art, you guys. You guys, I know your art really is very powerful, and we'll put it up too.
And how do we, I mean, really the big question for a lot of people is, how do we inspire kids that have really kind of grown up being kind of torn apart from nature, torn apart from art, you know, kids that are living in inner city areas that have been so paved over that every little piece of green is just sort of rare. You know, we always talk about creating bioswales and capturing your rainwater and getting rid of your lawn, and
to be afraid of wildlife, afraid of insects,
and really afraid of water in some cases.
Yeah.
You know, they don't swim, or they don't want to get near the water. I mean, how do you get people to really in areas that are you know, both landlocked and paved over to connect with water?
One time, Wyland, you remember this? We were at the LA River. We were shooting a PSA, and don't tell anybody, but we hopped the fence to do it. But when we got over there, you could see, you know, the vegetation trying to reassert itself in the river. You know, it doesn't quit. Nature doesn't quit, and it surrounds everybody, even if you're in an urban area. So, you know, it's about finding that moment, I think. And I think as an artist, Wyland would agree with that once you identify it, you recognize it as something that's, you know, part of your community, that's the start. So yeah, we've been paving over our cities, but I think it's redirecting everybody's focus to the nature around us. And that's where you start, you know.
There's a theme that I hope we can together encourage, and that is, although we have a tendency to think of water as a commodity, the way we think of fish and whales and things, they're commodities. No, they're alive, and we need to respect the water for its own sake, as well as the needs of the rest of life on Earth for water. We allocate essentially every drop. We put dams across rivers to extract power, and we celebrate the fact that it's not clean energy, if you will, hydropower, and there's some truth in that, but there is the downside that we need to account for, that when we choke rivers and streams with dams, we alter everything around.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
When we channel, like when you look at the water that once flowed to the Gulf of Mexico, and now every bit of that is allocated for this domestic use or that agricultural use or some hydropower use. Never, at the beginning at least, thinking about how Earth uses water.
How it impacts everything else,
There's an organization called American Rivers. I've been associated with them for many years. They are really trying to encourage a rethinking the dams that are just all over the place. We went through this era, and we're still in it, where engineers know how to dam a river. They learned from the beavers.
And then they took beavers out.
Yeah. And we've taken it to a whole new level. And we have to rethink the usefulness. Of course, hydropower has a place. Beavers have a place for sure. But you need to, again, look at
balance.
Everything in a balance. And,
well,
and
you know, Robert Bateman, who's my favorite artist, wildlife artist, he has this thing in Canada called Get to Know, and he asked me if I would help spearhead it for America. And that is the idea that kids are not going outside. They're not immersing themselves in nature, you know, and, you know, there's communities, kids that live right, you know, a couple of miles from the ocean. They've never seen it. They may very well never see it. So we need to get people into parks and get them into, you know, nature more, immerse them in that. And once that's, you know, that nature becomes part of your DNA. And when you're out there, you know, look at the impact it had on us kids.
Yeah.
You know, we just need to insist that our kids get out there. You know, they're stopping field trips. Not only are they taking art out, they're taking nature, you know, like going on field trips. That's crazy. We need to put more of that in. We need to build better kids. Seriously, not kids that are focused on negative things, positive things. There's so much good out there. So we need to fill those kids up with good, with art, with nature.
Yeah.
And then watch what happens.
One positive thing about the pandemic and so many kids doing school from home, doing school online, is it gives a little bit more time for unstructured time, right? So, you know, I think in small groups as parents, we can all just grab a kid, or if you don't have kids, grab somebody else's kid, you know, do that auntie or uncle, and take them out and, you know, grab a hand lens, grab a seed packet, you know, get dirty, get wet, get out there.
No child left dry.
No child left dry. And it's really the right of people everywhere from every economic class to reconnect with nature. And it's just imperative that it happen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's time to kind of break that mold a little bit of sort of the rote education in some ways. And right now it's an opportune time to
it is. And I'm very proud of people that are being creative with that, you know, basically staying at home and, you know, isolation. I do that naturally when I'm writing a book or I'm painting a picture. You know, I isolate, I hunker down. That's probably why I'm still single. You know, I live in 3 states. Yeah, I you know, all that other stuff, you know. But what I would just say is we need to pour everything we have, Sylvia, all your knowledge, wisdom, inspiration into these kids, because that's where we're going to have the biggest impact now and in the future.
So we've got some questions coming in.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Take some questions, and I wanted to remind everyone that you can raise your hand using the raise your hand feature on the bottom of the screen, and Arnold, our co-producer, will call on you. Wyland's ready. Look at him.
I'm ready for anything.
What was on that glass? Was that an octopus that I just saw?
Yeah, Sylvia, your eye for art is beautiful. I can't wait to come tag your beautiful wall I saw.
Yeah. Okay,
and
so
I'm going to teach you guys how I do street art now. That's my new thing. Hey, and by the way, before I forget, you know, we do every year the National Wyland Art Contest. Okay, and it's your art, also working together how to do a mural, and we do photography now, but we're going to do it virtual. So we're going to announce that at wyland.com and wylandfoundation.org. Awesome. But it's going to be a 1-day online. Every school's invited, every kid, every parent, and we're going to create this beautiful art, and we're going to theme it. Okay, we're going to theme it for you, Sylvia Earle, and the work that you're doing with Mission Blue. Okay, this year we're going to theme it right off you.
That's awesome.
And you can help me pick the winners.
That's tough.
That is,
you don't have enough to do, you know. You need one more thing to do, you know. Somebody told me though, Liz, if you want something done, find a busy person, because it's just another thing for us.
Sure. Yeah, it's just another thing.
Yeah, we got questions, right?
So Greg is saying, How about if every kid, as a must-do, goes to the Grand Canyon as a hike as part of their high school criteria?
Oh, count me in for that.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the kind of thinking we need. Every kid should be immersed in these national and state parks. My favorite places, by the way, I get in there and I feel like I'm like 14 years old again. You know, when you're out there, or when you're just snorkeling around a reef or a tide pool playing around. My God, there's still a lot left, right, Sylvia? There's still a lot of beauty left.
And it's really remarkable, I think, someplace like the Grand Canyon, because that's a place where a river's been really constrained. You know, I mean, that canyon was created by water.
Yes,
yeah, right?
that's right.
Water and wind.
My dad and I paddled down that river one time. It was incredible. Got thrown out a few times too.
And Stacy is asking us, is it possible to make a river into a hope spot? If we can make the Snake River a hope spot, maybe it could be breached and make it a free-flowing river so the Chinook salmon could survive, and we could save some orcas in the process.
Well, this is perfect for Steve Creech. Tell us about how we're gonna launch this now. And by the way, we're launching it here with you guys today. But Steve.
And not just the river. The idea is that for people to, you know, share how much they care about any part of the river. That's the whole idea. And we've had people who have adopted parks in the past just because they want to take care of their community. So they'll go out there and they'll keep them clean and maintain them. But this is really about exposing people to these beautiful places and cherishing them. Because what we learned, right, Wyland, when we were doing these tours, I mean, we would go down all these rivers and streams and creeks, but you would find people who grew up in these places, whose parents were there, their grandparents. And those are the types of deep connections that we're hoping to tap into with this program. That people
and it's 4 to 94, by the way, 4 to 94. You can find your own little piece of paradise. You can be a citizen scientist here, inspired by Sylvia Earle. I mean, this is really super cool, guys. And by the way, Liz, I forgot. Sylvia, Liz told me you had a piece of water that was very special to you, a lake or something. What was that, Sylvia?
Well, it's on the place that my mom and dad settled in Florida.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s. Just a tiny little patch of blue, but surrounded by a lot of, you know, where people live.
Right.
It's 5 acres, most of it water. And
well, why don't we designate that the very first one for this new launch?
Well,
and that'll be your baby. And then I live in Florida, so I can be like, the crazy nephew or something taking care of it for you.
But there are other ways to get involved.
Oh yeah.
We do a program locally here with the county, and we adopt a channel. Yeah. So the foundation and Wyland Galleries, you know, we work with partners, and so Disney. We're responsible for the upkeep of the channel, the Laguna Creek channel. And so everybody can have that kind of a role. You can either support it, you can be involved in a cleanup.
I'm a champion.
There's so many other ways.
Absolutely. Be a champion. I drove by there, Steve, just before I came to Florida a couple of days ago. I was on my electric bike, my little Rhino. And I said, there's the sign for it, for our protected little piece that we did with Disney, by the way. Disney asked me to kind of be part of this whole protect these little, waterways. And God, it's a beautiful thing. Now, imagine this. So when you do this, we all become part of this network of people that are really, world changers for these little ecosystems. And then we connect it all together into your hope spots. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. The timing couldn't be better.
Right.
We need people to understand.
And we need hope.
We have another question from Alejandra saying it's very easy to say that kids should do this or parents should do that. But the reality is that a lot of people can't really afford to put a lot of attention and time, especially now, into gardening or going out onto a field trip. It's especially impactful to BIPOC communities Is there something that we can do in a single day? What are solutions to this?
Can I answer that for a second?
Please, Steve.
Well, one of the things, and this is incredibly important, but we're doing a research survey right now to assess what young people know about watersheds and the ocean. And frankly, a lot of people don't even know that all water drains to the ocean.
Yeah.
So I think you can empower somebody with that fact alone. The minute they know that, they're going to be able to make some changes in their lives. They may not be huge changes, right, Wyland? But at least they understand that that water's heading in one direction, and what they're doing to it is going to have an impact. So, it's not always about fixing a leak. It's about being informed so that, when the time comes, you will be able to fix that leak, and you'll want to fix that leak. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the idea of community, of working together, getting your friends, your school, your family, your parents, God, that's just an amazing thing. And then to see the impact, that's really the reward at the end. And as far as the money, yeah, these things are free. They're free. And I know the mayors, over 1,000 of them now, are so excited about these kids, taking little actions that really add up if enough people do it. And again, we need all 7 billion people. All 7 billion of us have to be informed and conservation minded. Yes. And I think we can get there. I mean, I think we can get there if we all just stay focused and keep working for that end goal, which is clean water, a healthy ocean, a healthy planet for each and every human and every single plant and animal. It's really empowering when you see it, the effect that you're having. One person is not one person. One person is a lot of people when you have a cause as important as this.
Yeah.
The network of hope.
It is.
Yeah, network of hope.
So, Inari is asking us, hey, I'm 17 years old and I live in Ontario, Canada. I'm an aspiring marine biologist. My question is, what is one thing you would want to instill in the younger generation in terms of conservation or just in general?
I'll let Sylvia take this one. That's a beauty.
Well, I think we all can weigh in.
Exactly.
That concept of the one thing, imagine times 7 billion.
Yeah, it adds up.
Something in the right direction. You don't have to stop with one thing, but it's a good place to start. And I think realizing that what you do matters, and find that thing that really you're passionate about, that you're good at, that you care about. Wyland has found his place. I think, in a way, I have mine. Everyone, Mr. Rogers used to say this to every kid, you're special.
It's true.
There's no one like you. You are a special person. And if you just realize that he's right, no two people are alike. Everybody can do something that nobody else can be what you can be. But it's realizing your power and then using it in a way that will make a difference.
Yeah, and do something that's bigger than you. And this is a big issue that we face, these plastic islands. But when you do something that's bigger than you, but you're making a difference, you really are, and you're inspiring, other people. That's what Ryan the recycler's doing. He's out there inspiring all these kids to look at their trash. He came to my building and he said, "You're not doing it right. You're not recycling right." And man, I respect that. Yeah. But you're right. It's about you. Every single individual kind of back up. But I think it starts with the inspiration and the awareness that, hey, these are the issues and this is what I can do.
And to take care of the natural world that takes care of us, we have this long history as humans of just taking from nature. You cut the trees, you use the wood, you kill the fish, you eat the fish.
Bottle the water.
Yeah, whatever it is you do, we are mowing down the natural world and converting it to what seems like a good idea at the time. But we have to find our place within the natural systems and respect the reality that nature, the natural systems that took 4.5 billion years to create this hospitable planet that is now in trouble. And that means we're in trouble. We have to restore the damage.
And we can do it.
And work in a peaceful way. Make peace with nature. Whatever your talent, whatever your your capability, whatever
you bring to it, yeah. And everybody has something to bring to it, to the party.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. This is one of those dinners where everybody brings something, a little potluck for the planet.
A little stone soup.
Yeah.
I think we might have a hand raised. We'll see if Arnold can patch them in for us.
Yes, Brianne, I'm just unmute yourself and go ahead and speak.
Okay.
We need a voice.
Is she there?
Yes, we do. I just don't see that she's...
Brianna's a good-looking manta ray there.
Yeah. All right.
The fish are talking to Sylvia again.
Well, we'll just move on then. That's fine.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to raise their hand, please do.
Yes, please. So Hallie is asking, it just said, Wyland, I grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and drove past a mural that you did there. Always made me smile. Do you have any stories to share about that particular one?
Well, New Bedford's, whaling history is awesome, and that whaling museum. And Richard Ellis, one of our dear friends and fellow artists, did a mural of sperm whales. And I thought, I want to paint, great whales for New Bedford because of the history and for the community. And they were a little down, so I wanted to bring them up a little bit, bring something positive to New Bedford. Boy, did they appreciate it. And I even painted Moby Dick, and it's still there. So if you're driving around New Bedford, you see whales on a wall, I might have painted that one.
I think you, just one second. I think you took a little heat for painting a wall in Japan.
In Taiji, yeah. Yeah, well, listen, so I heard that, and Steve gave me the heads up. Yeah, I've heard it before. Here's the thing. I painted one in Fuji with Mr. Ono, who's the head of the Tokyo Bay Fishing Association. And he asked me to do a whaling wall, the first one in Japan. So I painted sperm whales, life size, and, it created a lot of controversy because they're still hunting them, obviously. And then I was asked to do one in Taiji, where whaling started in 1606 there. They started hunting some of the great whales, with small boats, and they have a whaling museum. As usual, I wanted to take negative, like I take ugly walls and make them beautiful windows into the ocean. They had a tremendous wall there, and I wanted to paint the living whale for the whalers, for the people of Japan, to see how beautiful a life-size right whale and calf. So I had that opportunity, but I actually had people go, well, why would you do that? Well, this is what I do. I bring the art in a way that it gives people goosebumps. I had the whalers coming over there going, I never looked at a whale that way. Right. I look into the eyes of those whales you painted. It moved them, and I know it's not going to happen overnight, but eventually Japan will join the rest of the world and realize that the whales are much more important than living whales. And that's what I paint. But somebody was criticizing me, if you can believe that. And I'm sure you guys get it too. Like, why did he do that? Well before The Cove, 10 years before Louis, who's our friend who made The Cove, great movie. Yeah. It opens up actually with that wall that I painted, the movie. And 10 years before that, I went to Taiji and did that wall. And I'm sure I get a lot of looks, but I'll tell you.
No, it's the right thing to do.
Well,
thank you, Sylvia.
It's true that it's like, if people, if the only time they see a whale is a package of meat at the supermarket,
they'll never know.
They never know.
And they're still doing that. And then you go in the whaling museum, you see all these bones. And then, but when you come upon it, you look at that whale differently. When you see a life-size whale, and Sylvia knows I can paint them, I bring the spirit in. It was powerful.
Are you painting any freshwater murals?
I'm gonna be doing, like, I want to do a sturgeon or something, in sculpture where it's 4 stories high, where you're driving down the Mississippi or somewhere, and where you least expect it, and you see this larger than life beautiful, like a paddlefish,
Yes.
all these cool fish. And Sylvia, I'm going to brainstorm with you, but I'm not only going to do freshwater, I'm going to do saltwater animals, and I'm going to blow them up so big that it forces you to look at them. That's the power of public art. That's what art can transform the way people look at things.
And we have hundreds of murals that we did with kids with
all 50 states.
Tours, but bald eagles and riparian animals. They're just really beautiful works. They're in storage, but they're just incredible.
Well, Steve, remember we were with the mayor last year in Cleveland, and to celebrate the 50-year anniversary of the Cuyahoga River. Mm-hmm. And when that river caught on fire in '69, I was a young artist, and I thought, man, what are we doing where we put so much pollution and oil into a river, and it catches on fire? So that really ignited an environmental renaissance. It inspired the first Earth Day, the first EPA, Greenpeace later, all of it. And so for me, that was powerful. So the mayor asked me to come and restore the wall I painted in Cleveland as one of my 101 monumental murals. So I actually went to the presentation, and we had all these inner city kids, and Sylvia knows how I am with kids, because I have a kid's job. This isn't a real job. So these inner city kids, I not only painted a mural of the Cuyahoga River where it's fresh now and they're seeing fish and it's come back, guys. I mean, nature does that, but I invited the kids to come for the restoration of the wall, and they were my volunteers, and I left them all the spray gun, the paint, and now they're painting murals all over Cleveland.
It's very cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That project, Liz, the Wailing Wall project, has never, ever been about me. It's been about communities coming together and giving something back, giving something beautiful, with not only beautiful art, but with conservation. And Sylvia's painted with me in Miami. I had her up on the scaffold. But Sylvia, you are truly a hero for me and so many people. And from the Wyland Foundation, we can't thank you enough. And we look forward to working with you and Liz and, Mission Blue. And I hope everybody that can support their organization, and maybe the Wyland Foundation too. We would sure appreciate you guys.
Well, that's awesome. Do either Steve or Wyland, do you have any last final takeaways or things?
Steve, what do you got, Steve? I love Steve. He's the man.
We're just going to keep going.
Call to action.
Yeah. Well, we have some new programs going, but everybody, you can find out about those on wylandfoundation.org. But like Wyland said, and just thanks to the two of you and Sylvia for inspiring us and helping us to reach for higher goals, right, Wyland? I mean, that's really what we've done. Thanks.
Well, Steve, I want to thank Brian and Valerie. I did a painting for Earthrise of this humpback whale and calf, and they bought it for $35,000. So we gave Sylvia and Mission Blue half of that, $17,500. They were so happy because we need the funding to do these programs, and then the Wyland Foundation got the other half, and I got to have all the fun doing that painting on Earth Day. So, and I'm going to continue to do it, Sylvia. You when I met you at the Monterey Aquarium, we had dinner that night, and for some reason you believed in, the power of art to really have an impact, on the environment. So,
Well, thank you both so much for joining us.
And thank Ocean Elders. I am one. Mm-hmm. And the idea that we can have these conversations and really engage people. We look forward to having you back, Wyland. Steve will follow up with the next chapter. I want to go rafting down the Mississippi with you. Ha ha ha.
Oh, let's do it.
In search of the paddlefish.
Little Tom Sawyer.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Dive In. We are going to be having a special episode on Thursday, October 1st, when we're going to be talking about the oil spill going on in Mauritius.
Mauritius.
Yes.
Oh, the place, home of the dodo.
Yeah. Was the dodo.
Was the dodo, yeah.
You can find information on these events in your email and Mission Blue and Ocean Elders social media channels. And really, again, a special thanks to our producers at Medley Media and the Ocean Elders. And this episode, along with our past episodes, will be available on YouTube. So thanks again, and take care of the ocean. please, as if our lives depend on it.
Oh, yes, that's the message. We should take care of the ocean as if our lives depend on it, because
They do.
they do. The freshwater, the waters of the world.
All the water. Thank you. Bye for now.